Hi all, thanks for coming. This is the Q1 meeting of Wisconsin Tug. We are going to cover all things data TV. We have a great presenter today about his lovely Super Mario Brothers dashboard that looks very good. And then some Vispiration. We have each with some content creators or visualization creators that we like looking at and see if that inspires anyone else to get some use out of that, or if people have any other ideas, feel free to put that in the comments in the chat as we get to that section. Tug leadership, we have the four of us, Tammy, Robert, Tosh, and myself, Brady. As always, we're looking for people to be involved in the community. If anyone wants to get part of these presentations and this Tableau user group leadership committee, feel free to reach out to us. Always some spots available to help people get more involved in the community and get different experience leadership opportunities. Agenda for today, as always, we're going to have an attendee poll, some general updates, say hello to everyone. Feel free to comment where you're joining us from today in the chat. See where everyone's coming in from. We'll go over the Data Plus TV challenge. Tosh will be presenting that. Then we have a presentation from BJ. Looks like something that would be really interesting to look at. And then we'll have our different content creators or visual creators. And then we'll have upcoming events and giveaways. Make sure to be involved in the chat to get entered in for those 3 different giveaways. We'll have 3 different active winners for today. Just asking questions, community in the chat. Robert will select those at the end. Poll, we pull that up. We'll put this in the chat as well. Oh, that's not going. It copied a lot more than I wanted. I'm joining you from Greenfield, Wisconsin today. Start with the first question. Where are you joining us from today? Good balance. Milwaukee, Madison, other Wisconsin areas. Nice. I will share it again. Yep, lots of comments. Okay, next question. Ooh, we still got some more coming in.
Lots of Madison.
Lots of Madison.
I am the one outside of Wisconsin.
Our traveling leader. Did you go to college in Wisconsin? I'm actually a no for this. I went to school in Indiana.
Are you a Hoosier, a Boilermaker, or none of the above?
I'm a Valparaiso Crusader.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
My small little school.
Southern California here. I'm a Sage Hen. Sage Hen.
Almost everyone from Wisconsin. Nice. I have a couple questions on here that I thought was interesting. For me, like, picking up school like skills like this, like Tableau. I started learning this in college, makes it a lot easier. But I have a lot of respect for people that picked it up later in their career. Learning new things like this is not the easiest. We don't have it fed to you in like a school-based learning program like Robert teaches.
And I am really glad to see that I'm not the only 50 plus. I'm really happy to see that that's the biggest group.
It's more impressive, for sure. A good balance. Next question. Cats or dogs?
Do you have a
Both
strong
super.
opinion, Robert?
Well, I don't have either. I kind of like both, so I put both. I mean, I like dogs. I tolerate cats.
Tolerate. Wow. We'll see if we see me walking behind Tosh today.
My dogs are asleep.
Oh, so is mine. When did you attend your first tug? For me, I think mine was 2021 or 2022. One of those.
Election night, 2016.
That was the first time I worked an election. That was
wow.
total chaos. Yeah, if you ever want to be a poll worker, I don't recommend a presidential election being your first time. I 0 of 10 recommend it.
For you people, for the us joining it 2025, you're your first one. Welcome, and hopefully this is the first of many. Have you ever attended a tug in person? No, we're always virtual. Madison and Milwaukee are in person. A lot of people coming from Madison. Those are great to go if you're looking for more of an in-person experience. I know virtual makes it a lot easier to join during the day. And then last question. Are you planning to go to Tableau Conference 2025?
I'm glad to see someone is.
I sure want to, but
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's during the semester.
yeah. We'll see. I'm hopeful to go.
We're still on non-essential travel, so
Yeah, they do a good job of having virtual stuff that you can watch. It's just not. It's I would say in person is better, but it's definitely better than nothing. Okay, well, thanks for that, everyone. Hope everyone had fun. I think the best part, was just seeing people they get into the Tableau at different points in their life. Next, we have Tosh. Do you want to control Tosh? I'm going to go through it.
I will take control.
Stop here.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to send a link in the chat. This is just to this page right here. So we wanted to talk a little bit about Data Plus TV today. So this is just a bit of an introduction to it for anyone who hasn't heard of it yet. I'm going to bring the slides over too, so we could start there. So Data Plus TV is Tableau Community's challenge for the year. They just put this out this year. Basically, it's just a way for people to get more involved in the community and give some inspiration. So what they did was they started with a Tableau dashboard that's available on Tableau Public. But along with that dashboard, there's a starter guide, which I'll walk through that a little bit just to show everyone. But it's basically an introduction to what it is and talks about the data a little bit, how they worked with IMDb to get data around movies and shows. So it's pretty fun data. to work with. And the reason why they created a dashboard to go along with it is so that you can log into Tableau Public and easily make your own visualization without having to start from scratch. So there's no components where you need to connect to the data on your own. You definitely can do that, but if you start with their starter dashboard, it's super easy because the data connection is already there. So I'll walk through that a little bit here. So this is the landing page if you use the link that I sent in the chat. And I logged into my Tableau.com account to be able to access the starter guide from this page. But as you scroll, it just explains a little bit about Data Plus TV, highlights some dashboards that have already been created around using that data. So if you go on to Tableau Public, you'll find some pretty cool visualizations already out there. But the first step to it, if you scroll all the way down on this page, you can download the Get Started kit for it. So if you click on that, it's going to bring you to this PDF that kind of walks you through everything. So I'm just going to share so that everyone's familiar with it. I feel like sometimes it's easier to get started with something when you have a little bit more background knowledge around it and don't have to do all the full discovery work. So again, just give some introduction about it. Andy Cotgreave is kind of the inspiration creator behind this challenge. And a lot of it stems from logging into your Tableau Public account. So I won't go through this whole PDF, but it even walks you through like what each of the charts are on the starter dashboard that they have online. And then gives you a play-by-play of what steps you need to take if you want to edit the dashboard right from Tableau Public, or if you would like to download the dashboard and edit it from there. So I'm going to flip to Tableau Public. So on Tableau Public, it's the Tableau marketing page. That is the author that has this dashboard posted, and it's just called the Data Plus TV Starter Dashboard. So just a quick look here. It's showing just some high-level examples that you can use right off the bat for discovering shows or movies. So number of series, number of titles, number of people, number of roles, some high-level numbers, and then they also include some charts. So number of series over time, series with the most episodes. You see Days of Our Lives at the top, and then top 2,500 series in a scatter plot. So I think there's a lot of room for just being able to play around in this a little bit and explore the data. I also have this dashboard downloaded, so I'll show you two ways that you can just get started with it. So the first is you can make a copy right from Tableau Public. So if I click make a copy, what it does is it creates a web edit tab for you. So you don't even need to go and download the dashboard to do any of your own enhancements, any filters, create any of your own charts. It can all happen right within Tableau Public, which, if anyone didn't know that, I actually didn't even realize you could do that before from Tableau Public. I had never tried on any other dashboard, but from here you'll see, so here's the dashboard, and then obviously there's a ton of sheets that they created to make this. From here, I can just go into a new sheet and explore the data a little bit, pull in whatever I'd like to to start creating my own chart. And I'll just expand this data too. So it's pretty nice how they curated the data set also within Tableau Public. So they put everything in a folder so you can find it pretty easily. So you've got a folder for the series, the title, the cast and the crew, person's role in the series, all the way into award nominations for the show. And then if I go back, I'm just going to exit out. I'm not going to publish anything right now. You can publish from here though, if you want to. So if you made your own visualizations in your own dashboard, you can publish right from here to Tableau Public for your profile. I'm going to exit out for now though. And I want to scroll down to the bottom here just because I thought this was helpful too. So what they did in the bottom here, they created a data dictionary, which I think is really helpful because there is a lot of data that goes along with this data set. So again, just like I was showing how all the data is structured into folders when you go into the dashboard, whether from Tableau Public or if you download the dashboard itself locally. All the structuring happens in those folders, and then all the field names, they provided a description of what it is, so you know exactly what you're looking at, which I thought was pretty nice that they put this together too. So again, that was the series. Here's the title. It explains all the fields that are included in the data set. Cast and crew is included in here. The award nominations again. Age rating. So pretty robust what they put together. And lastly, I just want to show this is what the dashboard looks like if you were to download it too. So instead of doing a web edit, what I did was just downloaded the dashboard. So as long as you have Tableau on your PC, you can open it up. And then once again, from here, you can make whatever changes you want. Yeah, so we wanted to show it because, again, it's the community challenge for the year. And it's just a good way to get involved in the community by publishing on Tableau Public. You don't have to publish either. You can always just play around with the data and get used to building out charts in Tableau if that's something that you're still getting accustomed to. So this is some of the what we went through already. So again, just sign into Tableau Public, create an account if you don't have one already. You can find the Data Plus TV starter dashboard on there through the Tableau Marketing author page. So just search for Tableau Marketing, or you can just search for Data Plus TV starter dashboard. From there, you can do a web edit, or you can download the dashboard and edit it locally on your PC. And then if you do decide to post, don't forget to include the hashtag so that people can find your work. So definitely include Data Plus TV as a hashtag when you publish it. And we would love to see any community members from this group, Wisconsin Tug. So also include the hashtag Wisconsin Tug. We would love to see your work and also showcase your work. So I think what's really cool about what BJ is going to show today with his SuperMario's dashboard, that's just a passion project he put together with a topic that he really enjoys and loves. So you can make your dashboard whatever you want it to be. Pick a show that's really interesting to you. And then if you do publish, use the Wisconsin Tug, and we'd always be happy to showcase your work here as well. But yeah, any questions, feel free to drop those in. Let me make sure. Yep, we've got the QA started right now, so feel free to ask questions in there.
I think the folders is very helpful too for people that are trying to begin, is to have everything already organized. Normally, I end up don't making folders because I end up replacing data sources, and that resets all the folders. Like how many times I make folders, it gets annoying.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't actually use folders a whole lot either, because I just find that I am iterating a lot and really quickly, and sometimes it's a lot to do the upkeep to keep it organized. But yeah, it's nice to have it when someone else creates it for me.
Yeah, and like to your point, Leslie, is like it's hard to find data sources that you can share publicly. Like I have stuff from work that I can make demos, but then like I guess that's you want to make sure it's super clean if you're going to present like publish things on there. So it's helpful that you don't have to worry about any crossover issues for sure.
Yep, definitely.
If there's no other questions, we can start BJ's presentation. Thanks for presenting today, BJ. We're looking forward to it.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. And so if you could give me control, perhaps?
Yep, definitely. All right. Go
Should
for
have a
it.
share screen at the bottom.
Cool. Let's see. We'll just do the entire screen here. And you'll get the wonderful mirror effect here.
The dreaded infinite mirror.
Yeah. I am clicking share and I'm not sure it's going.
Oh boy.
Not yet.
So I can, yeah, the actual share pop-up doesn't seem like it's working for me.
Try again, BJ. Next time I'm gonna put you off camera.
And unmute, just so you know.
Sorry, things do not seem, okay, I'm back on, that's good. And I'm trying to share my entire screen and the button, do I need to do this? The button where I'm trying to click share is not allowing me to share, unfortunately. I'm gonna
Is BJ set up as with presenter enabled?
Yes.
Let me try a different,
Okay, there it
okay,
goes.
you've got my dashboard.
There we go.
We do see that.
Unfortunately, it won't let me share my entire screen, but that's okay. I'm happy to talk about what I've got up here, and I have slides, but they're just kind of notes for me to chat for a little bit. So yeah, hello, welcome everyone. I'm BJ Best. I work at Carroll with Robert, actually. I'm a professor of creative writing and video game design at Carroll in Waukesha. Today I'm coming from beautiful Thorpe, Wisconsin, and kind of north central Wisconsin a little bit. And so I teach writing and video game design, but in a previous life I was actually an actuary. And so my interest in data has become stronger again. And so I'm excited to think about Tableau and publicly presenting things and kind of melding both my writing with data analysis skills. I actually took the data visualization class offered by Robert. That's one of the cool things about higher ed, is that you can sometimes take a class for free, audit the class. And he's the one that kind of pushed me into thinking about data viz and creating this dashboard. And so I'm very grateful for the invitation and for his support and advice about this. If you don't know anything about Super Mario Brothers, it was a game that was released by Nintendo in 1985. And in case you've never played it or not familiar with it, the idea is that you run and jump through a wide variety of levels. You defeat enemies, and the classic thing at the end of all the Super Mario Brothers is that you go and rescue the princess at the very, very end. there are 32 total levels, which you can see in the KPIs on the upper left there, and of varying difficulty. And in general, the theory behind game design is that the later you get in the game, the more difficult it's supposed to be. However, as a kid, this is one of my first video games I had as a kid. And still as an adult, I had a guiding question or a guiding concern, which is the last level didn't feel like it was the hardest one. The hardest one was World 8-1, which is like 3 levels before the end. And I'm like, I wonder if that's true. And so that's kind of really what spurred on the creation of this particular dashboard. And so that's what I wanted to think about and see if there was any way I could quantify that. Obviously, when you play any sort of game, it's hard to boil it down to strictly hard numbers sometimes. But that's what I was interested in. I also wanted to tell a long form story rather than a single page dashboard. Capitalize on some writing skills. This dashboard has a lot of writing compared to many, many others that are out there. But I wanted to try to tell the story that I want to tell. It's partly personal as kind of a frame. And then, of course, the analysis part of it as well. The other thing I was particularly interested in was making sure, thinking about the graphic design and the flow and that the readability of both the charts and the text too, and how does one move from KPIs in a donut chart up here and then down, and moving down to other conversation, and they kind of keep slipping left and right, left and right. And so I was thinking pretty hard about that too as I went forward. And so that's the general overview of what the dashboard is, how it came to be, and kind of what I was interested in looking at as kind of a passion project. I just wanted to highlight maybe a couple things that I think are cool. Maybe you think they're cool as well. And so I've got lots of charts, lots of facts and figures. I created the data set myself, actually, but verified it with some online sources. But I spent a lot of time just counting things and building an Excel sheet that had that sort of stuff. One of my favorite areas is right here. It looks at each individual level. And I think personally, one of the things that I really like is that it incorporates a level map. Which was available online and which I kind of took for myself. And the filters here, when you click on them, they will move, hopefully. It looks like it had to reload on me. There we go. And every time you click on it, it will show the different level map, which you can then scroll. And that was really satisfying for me to be able to make that happen. And the way that works is that I have kind of a personal website that just serves as a dumping ground for various web stuff I just need personally. And I download these maps from a source and it's credited at the bottom. I threw them on that website. And then in my Excel sheet, I have a link, and those links are given image roles. And therefore, when you drop it into its own view, it'll show up as this image, and then you're able to just drop it in like anything else you might drop into a dashboard. And so I enjoyed working with that and making it work. The levels are different lengths, which makes sometimes you're not able to, the scrolling is a little weird sometimes because some are really long and some aren't. But that was a fun thing to be able to do with that particular aspect of it. The other thing I did here, down here, was the notes section. And I wrote a little brief paragraph, and every time you choose a different filter, it will change that a little bit. I wrote that all in Excel too, and Excel is a terrible way to write a paragraph, but that was kind of the way I was forced to do it. So I thought that was fun and kind of interesting to look at every individual level and write a little blurb for each particular one. The thing that really spurred the chart was this particular graph right here. I made an enemy pictograph, and this one tallies every single enemy in every single level and by image here. And if you've played some sort of Super Mario Brothers, some of them might look familiar. Otherwise, there's a bestiary over here that kind of indicates them. And again, it's filterable and it's highlightable. And when you highlight over something here, the piranha plants, it will show up in the little KPI tile. There's 109 total overall. And so this is a complete list of everything that might want to kill you, unfortunately, in Super Mario Brothers. And so that took some time to make work because Tableau doesn't necessarily want to make that happen. So they're all different shapes and they're just all laid out horizontally. in order to make the different shapes show up one at a time, one at a time. In order to make that happen, I actually had to create kind of a separate spreadsheet in order to keep everything straight. But I knew I wanted to do this, and if I couldn't do this, I wasn't maybe going to not make the dashboard. And so I was really happy to be able to reveal every single thing that's out there, and that you can highlight it and can count it up for you. And so I enjoyed working on that particular thing. Way down at the bottom, my question, as I mentioned at the start, was what world is the most difficult world? And through the various analyses of everything, there's coins, there's power-ups, there's different lengths of enemies, different types of enemies out there. Really, the issue that I kind of came down to was that it's fundamentally enemies that are really the issue. And this little this scatter plot here kind of shows a really positive correlation with the longer a level is, the more dangerous things in it, which makes sense. And so really, it just seems like the dangerous things are the ones. And so I included a bunch of parameters here. I used in chess, there's kind of a scoring system to determine whether you or your opponent is doing better, and pawns are 1 and the queen is 8. And so I went with that same kind of idea. And I kind of personally assessed it, but encouraged anybody who is interested to kind of change these values. But as you can see in the heat map right here, my intuition was correct. According to me, World 8-1 for some reason is the most difficult one. It's just long and awful and a lot of different difficult things to jump over or jump upon or things like that. And so I thought it was cool that we would be able to change it according to your things. And if you want to cook the numbers a little bit, it is possible to generate different difficult levels according to your tastes. And so it can change things a little bit and report on that. The other thing that I spent a lot of time on were the graphics behind this. And that was going around and kind of finding things in order to use them. Like in video games, they're called sprites, all these images. Finding where they were so I didn't have to make them myself, but dragging and dropping them there. I did make all these dividers. And again, this was important for me for readability. In Mario, if you go down a pipe, you show up on the other side of it. And so my theory was you go down on the left over here, and then you read some stuff, and then the flow of the graph here kind of moves you down here, and then the next text goes there, and it kind of goes left, right, as I said. And so I made those with a separate kind of video game designy program in order to just divide things. And each section is a different aspect of the game. I tried to analyze anything that might be numeric about the game. So the types of levels, the lengths of the levels, which is this bar chart here, some descriptions on the levels, the number of coins you can pick up, which give you points. And if you get enough, you get an extra Mario. And then moving on and eventually landing on the enemies and the only other thing that can kill Mario, which are the pits, because if you fall into a pit, you automatically die. And really, those wind up being the most difficult things in this particular game. And so I did spend a fair amount of time thinking about that and trying to make it look nice, basically. Along those lines, very early on, I chose to use the game's colors. And so if you might be wondering, like, why is it black? Why is it blue? These are all background colors of particular levels. This blue is the opening world. There are underground levels that are black, and there are a couple other colors. And so all the colors, especially on this particular chart right here, are themed by the game itself. And so that made it easier to pick a particular palette that unified things. Because otherwise it's kind of a riot of color, but so are video games overall. And so, yeah, that was kind of the overall idea of the dashboard, telling a long story with a fair amount of writing, but supported by all the vizzes that I was able to produce and eventually answer the question, which is, what's the most difficult level? Again, it's hard to boil things down to numbers, and my final concluding paragraph kind of talks about that a little bit. But in one way, my 10-year-old self is pleased that I was right back then that World 8-1 is the most awful thing. So to think about some of the things that I kind of learned, again, I'm a novice in Tableau. I started using it in September under Robert's tutelage there. And so for me, a lot of this was a learning experience as I created new charts and I thought about the way to tell a story and that sort of thing. The one thing I learned really early on was to settle on those colors and settle on the font. Tableau Public only has kind of a limited selection, and I didn't want to use, the default Tableau one is nice, but I wanted to use something slightly different. Because once you settle on that, then you can start designing around it. The thing, and this was mentioned earlier, Tableau Public is very, very finicky. And in fact, I have it here. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen. Uh, this looks awful, actually, in desktop Tableau. Everything becomes those pound signs saying there's not enough room for it. The text is cut off. The charts get cut off. It all looks terrible because it's not the real thing. And so if you haven't worked much with Tableau Public, my advice, you can build all the charts in the desktop version, but if you're going to need to be precise about it, I found I needed to use the online editor, and it is pretty finicky. And I got down to the point where I'm adjusting pixels, the Y and the X pixel by 1, just to make sure everything lines up exactly right and makes it look as organized and regular as possible. And so if you're interested in the data plus TV thing, you can certainly develop in Tableau, but for the final version to make it look the way you exactly want it, Tableau Public, the online editor, was where I spent a fair amount of my time, which was frustrating because it's not the same interface as the desktop version because it runs on the web and therefore is has a little less horsepower. The only other thing that I learned is that it took a lot of time to get all the little small stuff right, all the little finicky, futzy kinds of things, which doesn't terribly surprise me. But I wanted to be the way I wanted to look, and so I was willing to put in the effort to do that. And that comes down, that's even down to things like I wanted on this screen right here. I can't remember if I've got a particular example. I wanted. I think World 8.4 does this. I wanted the plurals to be correct. So World 8.4 has a single coin, and I didn't want it to say one coins. And so I went down to the detail of creating some, little separate calculated fields that would either pluralize or not pluralize accordingly. And so all of it takes a fair amount in order to tell a complete story and have it operate in the way it should fundamentally, but there's a lot of behind the scenes work there. And so, yeah, that's kind of my project. It was a joy to work on. A lot of counting of things, like I said, and a lot of trial and error to make it work. But I'm pretty pleased with the final result, and it was fun to take and I deliberately chose a game that was large enough to have some actual numbers behind it, but small enough that it wasn't going to be huge and sprawling and anything like that. Yeah, I'm unfortunately sorry I can't share my slides, but I'd be happy to talk. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything, scroll through. I'm not sure if there are any.
BJ, yeah, there were a couple questions in the QA channel.
Okay.
Brady asked, what were some of the pain points you had in making this, and how did you get through them?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to pull it back up here. Again, probably, and again, I'm a novice, and so I might redo this in some ways. Almost everything is floating here, almost everything. And that's not necessarily a great choice. I'm not using many containers to help organize and make sure everything is nicely aligned. And so, again, adjusting a lot of things by X and Y pixels by 1 just to make sure everything adds up makes sense. The graphics were hard to do because the web is different than how it looks in an actual graphic editing program. And so I had to resize the graphics sometimes, and sometimes they wind up taking more space or less space than I wanted. And so I had to think about how that exactly worked. The only other pain point was because I was sort of creating my own data set, I had to validate it. And I often I found I made some mistakes, and so I'm glad I went through and kind of checked it a couple times. And again, there's a couple like SuperMario pages out there that also try to count up things. And so I did my own work, but I definitely made mistakes in doing it. And you get tired of counting things based on these maps that show up here after a while. But I managed to power through. So those are a couple of things that were challenging.
There was another question from Olga. Did you use any special packages for data generation?
No. Again, and I wish I could share it. The Excel sheet is very long in terms of columns, but not very deep in terms of rows. And so it was all hand entered by me. And so I just dropped it all in Excel. And like I said, some things are kind of ugly in Excel, especially writing these notes right here where it's a paragraph, where it says World 84 notes. But no, it compared to a lot of data that's out there, it actually isn't that much. It's only 32 rows, but a fair number of columns because I tried counting absolutely everything that I could conceivably think of and decide whether I was going to include it or not.
Yeah. And then a final question from Emma was, is there a primary reason you chose a scrollable layout instead of a tabular one? So long form versus tabs.
Yeah, I really did want to think about telling the story on a single scrollable thing, and I wanted the graphics to help kind of guide the reader's eye. And so that was the way I was thinking about it, was that the graphics would help lead the eye back and forth, in order to keep going. It could absolutely be done in a tabbed format, but I didn't really want the interruption of flipping pages or moving to different dashboards or something like that. I wanted people just to be able to continue to read if they wanted to and scroll and continue on. And again, in some ways, this has a lot more text than many dashboards are out there, and it feels more natural on a web page to me to just keep scrolling to reading rather than kind of clicking next, 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 next to keep moving forward.
And then Tosh asked, how long did this take to build?
A long time. It took a long time, but again, a lot of that was me learning, because this is my first major project I've ever done. The data and the charts themselves didn't take that long, but it was adding it all together and figuring out the ways it needed to do. And even things like the graphics editing took a while. This SuperMario stats at the very beginning isn't actually, I edited the original title, which actually says Super Mario Brothers. So it's stolen from the game. And then I had to design the little letters and make it fit. And so the charts actually were kind of a pleasure to build because the rest of it took a while and I had to keep coming back to it, bump things around, make sure it all made sense, turn on filters, turn off filters. So like I said, it was a lot of the fiddling stuff. I probably started in early November and we were due in mid-December. So a month and a half now. Of course, that's not steadily working on it, but every day, chipping away at something in order to make it look the way I wanted to make it look.
If you could ballpark your data self-creation in terms of hours versus the actual construction time of views, and then what you just described, fiddling, you call it. I always call it futzing.
Yep.
To kind of get a pixel perfect visual. How would you could you ballpark?
Yeah, I mean the data creation, again, it was kind of tedious, but it really didn't take that long. I kind of committed myself to doing like 4 levels a night, and it took 15 minutes. Going back and redoing them, it took a little bit extra. And writing the blurb for each particular level, that's down here, took a little bit of time too. And the chart creation, like I said, was the second most time-intensive thing. But really, it was making sure it all worked together. And so that was kind of the order of operations. And that's something that surprised me. I thought, once I have this, I'm just going to dump it all in there and it's going to look great. But really, it was the polish that took, it's kind of the 80-20 rule. It felt like 20%, and just actually kind of making it look nice was 80% of my time comparatively.
Yeah, and that's a common experience, I think, for people who make, as you did here, such a visually pixel perfect thing. Is the futzing, the fiddling, and the polish takes more time than any of the building. If you let it and have a perfectionist personality.
Which, again, as a former actuary, a little bit of that runs through my veins.
So one of two things is true: either you're a natural, or Robert teaches the best class ever. Both could be true, I guess.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah,
mostly the first.
I would argue it's the second. I had a very wonderful. Robert is a wonderful teacher, and it was a wonderful class, and it was awesome. It was awesome seeing what the other students did in the class. The other one that blew me away, one student made a Taylor Swift one, and it was awesome. all sorts of really interesting data about the Eras Tour that Taylor Swift was most recently on. And personally, I don't, I'm kind of neutral for Taylor Swift, but the dashboard was amazing. And so other students cranked out some really cool stuff too. I'm at a lakeside cabin, like I said, in north central Wisconsin with some other guys who recently left. But I was showing this off, and I'm like, but wait, you also have to you also have to see this Taylor Swift one because this student knocked it out of the park. So
we're tentatively planning to have Megan present that in April. She's currently in Mexico on her study abroad and didn't feel comfortable presenting from there. So, but yeah, really, really amazing.
Great. Yeah, she did. That's super cool work. So that's great. It's cool to hear that she might be presenting.
Yeah. For those who are tuning in, come back in April and see the amazing Taylor Swift dashboard.
That's a professional
Cool.
tease.
But,
BJ,
as a teacher and professor for this, and BJ and I got to know each other over this first semester I was there. I opened this up to look at it and was like, wow, mind blown. And also we are of the same age, so Super Mario is very nostalgic for me as well, which somebody noted in the comments too. A lot of nostalgia there.
I'm just thinking if I thought like I could build like a relatively simple dashboard, nothing too crazy, and then this is presented in the class, you're like, well, I'm just gonna start panicking right now.
I felt bad giving him a C on this.
Tough grader, man.
No grade inflation in Robert's class.
No.
A lot of compliments in the chat, BJ. This is really good. And
Wonderful.
this is an amazing job.
Cool. Thank you.
Going.
Yeah, and thank you again for the invite, and thank you to you. I'm kind of looking at the chat right now. Thank you so much. I'm on. I would have had my here I am. Contact me if you want the slide, but I'm on LinkedIn, of course. And if you want to see the other weird kind of artsy video game stuff that I do, bjbest60.com. That's my plug for myself. bjbest60.com. It's got my writing and some other stuff on it. So there you go.
Thanks, BJ. Thanks for accepting our invitation and a great presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
I'll go ahead and drop his website in the chat.
Thanks Brady.
Again. Thanks again, BJ.
Yep. Thank you, BJ. That was incredible.
I'm going to go ahead and switch up who's presenting. Here we go. Entire screen. So next we have some of our favorite visual and data creators from the leadership team. Got a nice list here. I want to go first. I'm the top 3. So I have one that's really for me for sports. Kirk Goldsberry is actually a professor at Texas, University of Texas, Austin. Worked for the San Antonio Spurs, has written a couple of books, but he does a lot of NBA visualizations. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram. From the very simple to like the very in depth, I really like them. I like he's got different ones on efficiency, which is from the numbers in my head is what I really care about. So stuff like this where we can see Giannis is shooting a lot of shots and shooting them efficiently. He puts out one every couple weeks about the 10 games offense and defensive efficiency. The Bucks can't score. Score right now, but are playing good defense. Simple stuff like this. One of his big ones, if I look at Twitter for the most liked, is just like a simple diagram here of shot charts from 20 years ago, where the mid-range was more common and there wasn't as many threes, to now the NBA really just shoots threes and goes into the paint. If it's more efficient, that's what the math tells you to do. But that just something simple like this where you can really see the difference in quickly what those are. And then also there's stuff like this where he has like the leading scores by zone for 25 years. You can see different people across that. We'll see that throughout the year. He'll post different ones, how players are doing that year. But then he also has got great stuff that looks like this, where you can see all of their points scored for a player. And the court changes when LeBron goes from the Cavaliers to the Heat. In the second year when he joins them and stops scoring for the Cavs. Like stuff like this. He has one for Curry too. Just really cool for me for like different visualizations of both like the simple ones and the really in-depth nerdy ones that I just really enjoy. There's lots of good stuff on here throughout his career. He's written a couple books. But yeah, I follow him just to, I enjoy the visualizations and how he shows data. Like stuff like really pops out is, you know, LeBron has been on and off. Whenever his team is on the court, his team's played better. And this year is the first year it's not true. As 40 years old, finally starting to slow down a little bit. But definitely something I would recommend if you care about the NBA. Someone I really enjoy just looking at if you're a data nerd and like visualization, then it's a great person to give a look to. Also enjoy listening to him on podcasts and things like that. My second one is a pretty common one. The Flaherty twins, their blogs, I take a read through here normally every month or so. I really enjoy things that I can get actual use out of. So when it's something like Tableau tips or tiny Tableau tips, I enjoy looking for just trying to find one or two things that I don't do that I could just start doing. So for me, like their most recent one, I think there's 10 different ones on here. One of them, I didn't know that you could create an LOD by dragging the value onto the measure, and I create LODs. So that's just something to save myself a little bit of time. But just try to grab little things here and there. There's they have a bunch of visuals. They have visualizations. They always shout out to who created them. Stuff. You got here a Pokemon version of dashboard. And, like, this is cool for me to see, but like I really enjoy their stuff where it's something I can actually grab, something that improves my day-to-day life of working with Tableau. I use all of it, all their Tableau functions. So definitely something to look at too. I've seen them in person at the Tableau conference, and then also different tugs as well. But definitely a good source to look at for different tips and tricks, different ways to improve efficiency and things like that. Definitely the group I really enjoy, just looking at, see what they have for us. And then the last one, so I had two, we decided to go with three, and I had two that like these were, I had my MBA one and Flaherty twin. I don't really search too much for the specific people. If something pops up on my LinkedIn or my Instagram or Twitter, I'll take a look at it. So I went to look for a third person, and I found one that I actually really liked. So his name is Adrian. Looks like he's a Tableau visionary in Canada, and he's got a lot of stuff for. I was looking for like a business dashboard. It's something like I could use, try to inspiration for my own dashboards, and I really enjoyed. Like he's got ideas on here for KPI inspirations. A lot of different options there. There's I just do like a pretty relatively simple, but a lot of these are not too much. I have a lot of clients that working with them, a lot of users that anything above Excel is a lot, so you want to go as gentle as possible by giving them as much information as you can. So this was a great idea. This was great for me just to look at all these different possibilities. I'm like showing what could we be doing with those sales numbers, and what could we be showing besides just the basic, $77,000, is he's got so many different options here. I think another one I really liked was, I liked a lot of them, honestly. Where is the one I'm looking for? He's put a lot out there. Can't find the one I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. So like this one to me was great for if you have a beginner in Tableau, if anyone here is that, or someone at your work. It's got basically instructions on how to do a lot of different things, just built into a dashboard, which makes it even better. But just very easy place to find a bunch of instructions on how to use the dashboards. Go through, you can learn about things on the way. I just really enjoyed that there's a lot of different business type dashboards or things you can learn, and that's really what I care about, is like, what can I learn that helps me in my day-to-day. BJ had a great passion project. I have several of my own, and they're really fun to like look at, and that was really cool to see. But he had things in there that I would actually might looking about making myself for other dashboards, but things that are focused on business users that are on the lower end of usability that can be used repeatedly are something I also really try to find as well. So that is my visual and content creators. Tosh, would you like to go next?
Yep, I will take
Stop
us
share.
through the next three. Thank you. All right, so the few that I've selected to walk through, I'm going to start with Playfair Data, and then followed by Chantley Jaggernath and Chris Westlake. So let me show Playfair Data first. So this is just Playfair Data's Tableau public page. They're pretty well known in the Tableau community. So if you haven't heard of them before, they're a great resource to go to. The reason why I think of them a lot is because I work with some of their team. So they are very experienced, and I like looking at the Tableau public page, one, because I think the style is very cohesive on this page, which I really like. The design is always in a nice, easily readable layout. So you can click on any of the dashboards that they post on their Tableau public. And what I like to do with that sometimes is download it, and then I'll try to re-engineer it. So for example, how to create a Sankey bump chart in Tableau. So this is a new chart type that one of the members of Playfair Data, Ethan Lang, put out. I thought this was pretty cool to see. So it's a combination of a Sankey chart and a bump chart together. And obviously you can play around with any of their dashboards and use the filters and whatnot. But again, what I do a lot of times is I'll go ahead and download it, click Tableau workbook, and then from there you can download it and try to recreate it or just understand how they created the visualization.
Reverse engineering Tableau Tableau public dashboards is a great way to learn.
Absolutely agree. I've learned a lot from doing that over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the website for Playfair Data. So another way that is good to learn is just like what Brady showed with the Flairledge twins and the blog posts that they put out on their website. Playfair Data does the same thing. So you can go to either their written tutorials or their video tutorials. I preferred the written tutorials just because I like to go step by step without needing to pause anything. So I'll kind of just search for whatever I am trying to create at the time. Usually I have an idea of what I'd like to create and I know it's possible, but if I don't know exactly how to create it, that's when I might go to this website or something like the Flairledge Twins and try to figure out exactly what's the best way to create it. Um, so again, there's just sticking with the Sankey bump chart that I was showing in Tableau Public from Ethan. There's a written tutorial too. So if you don't want to go ahead and take the time to re-engineer it, they also pair all of their Tableau Public work with a written blog post. And actually, I didn't even realize that, but they call out the Flairledge Twins in this blog post too, so that's kind of cool to see. And you'll notice as you go from creator to creator, a lot of people will find inspiration looking at someone and then try to add to it or edit it and make it their own. And that's how we get to new chart types or just a different route to get to the same result. So that's a reason why it's really nice to know a handful of different resources to go to learn. The next person that I wanted to highlight, Chantley Jaggernath. So she works for Lovelytics, which is an analytics company. And I actually just came across her page years ago after someone recommended that I take a look. The reason that I like to go on her page is really just for visual inspiration. With the stuff that Play for Data puts out, I think it's pretty useful in terms of like business dashboards for clients. It's for charts that I would create in my day to day work. What Chantilly puts out is just really pretty dashboards, in my opinion. They're still very analytical, but based on the work that you're doing, it might not include all the colors. I think it's so pretty though. So I like to look at it for layout, for example. So in this dashboard particularly, I like the grid layout with the 4 columns. I just think it's really easy to read. I also like the color gradient and how the colors align with each other, but they're all different to represent different breakdowns of the GDP. So that's just a really cool person to look to for Vispiration for me. And then the final person that I wanted to highlight is Chris Westlake because he was the latest Iron Viz champion. So he's got that in his title over here. Also, just very cool, well thought out dashboards. I was looking at his year in review just the other day, which is basically a timeline of how his year was spent. So I thought this was a really cool way to reflect on 2024. And in it, um, so basically it's just a timeline and the colors represent what he was doing during that time, and then the dots are what time of the year it happened. So he includes just creating vizzes. He's also including presentations that he did. Um, he highlighted his trip to San Diego for the Tableau conference. So just some really cool, well thought out stuff. This is the dashboard that he won the Iron Viz with. So it's called the IMDb Explorer. And on his page, it's the first dashboard pin. So you could find that pretty easily. But if you wanted to take the time to go through that, and then you'll also notice just from earlier in our talk today, we were talking about the IMDb data from Data Plus TV. So I think that was kind of a segue from the Iron Biz theme to opening it up to the Tableau community. So definitely worth checking all of those people out. And then I'm going to stop sharing. So we can hand it over. Tammy, let us know if you're good to present. Otherwise, we can also present.
Or I can if Tammy needs more time.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. I'm going to plop into the chat all the ones that I'm showing here. Oh, somehow it abbreviated them. Let me try that again. Or is there a limit on the chat length?
Maybe.
There we go. Okay, well, concatenating them all together. Anyway, let me share my screen. Just move on. And here we go. So one of the first ones I went with was Dennis Cow, who actually presented for our Madison Tableau user group a little while ago, earlier last year, and made a very cool map of Madison for that. He is also in academia. He's a professor in, and his specialty is maps. And I just find his maps so compelling. Lots of people do maps. Lots of people do really interesting with maps. He himself said that he has a perfectionist tendency to, futzing and putzing the exact size and color and everything about it. And I find his results just very inspirational. I've only done a few maps for some professional clients, and they're usually very straightforward, and they're, to display some specific business need. He creates maps that have a whole variety of uses and gets to get really, really creative with them. And they just provide a lot of inspiration of different ways of visualizing geospatial mapping data. So he has a pretty huge presence on Tableau Public. He also has a fairly huge list of posts and so forth on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to look into his stuff. Just maps, lots and lots of maps, and not only just in like the Oahu Peaks here, where he's showing kind of a heat map type thing, but also informational, almost infographic-like maps. So huge fan of Dennis. Next is Andy Kriebel, who, he's kind of an icon in the Tableau community. And I think a year or a year and a half ago, struck out on his own, creating Next Level Tableau as a personal coaching and training endeavor. But he provides a lot of content on LinkedIn, and he has a huge repertoire of information on Tableau Public, a lot of which are technically challenging to recreate, and a lot of which are inspirational just in the sense of good practice and ways to think about creating charts that are actually for business clients or purposes, not necessarily passion projects or artistically creative. So I find Andy's content really useful for practical applicability, in addition to being very sophisticated, and a lot of it is fairly cutting edge in terms of how he uses new Tableau features. Just as a plug for Andy, he also has a very extensive YouTube channel with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of training videos. And here on his front page, a plug for our two local cohorts, Brandy and Dustin of the Milwaukee Tug there. So check out Andy Kriebel if you need a tutorial on how to do just about anything. He does do great tutorials, although they're sometimes a bit fast. So you might want to slow them down. And then the third one was kind of an interesting choice, Ray Gibler. I've only become aware of through LinkedIn, but have read quite a lot of his content on there because he covers not only Tableau, but visualization in general. And I've found a lot of useful tips that he posts for different ways or easier ways and shortcuts to use Tableau. And also just sometimes inspirational stuff about visualization in general, or how to do certain things in business, some business analysis and design things. So he's got a lot of posts that he puts out here on LinkedIn that are related to the business and practice at large. In terms of Tableau, he has quite a lot of content in Tableau Public, a number of which are pretty interesting and artistic. You can see these sort of circular loop-de-loop visualizations he got, seem to be in a phase, and just a bunch of different things. So I find Ray to be an interesting person and with his content for so maybe some niche inspirations, but also some good tips, again, in the visualization practice at large. So that's what I've got for those.
Yep. So yes, I'm sorry. I was talking and didn't realize that I was muted when you asked if you wanted to skip to me. So thank you, Robert. I can just finish up with with my cup. I have two that I like. Let me get my my share to work. Are you seeing a share on my profile or Bo McCready's profile?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So Bo McCready is one of my favorites. He used to live in Wisconsin, so he did one or two guest appearances. I think he participated in Wisconsin Tugs, the Madison Tugs Iron Viz Challenge. Not sure exactly what it was called, but he no longer lives in Wisconsin. But I love the content that he puts out. I keyed in on the best TV show finales and the worst TV show finales. I got into these vizzes and I kind of got lost in the data. They were absolutely fascinating. I found that I agreed with most of his opinions of the best and the worst. But in these vizzes, you can click through and you can see specific series information. And this is taking forever to load. So you can click through if you're a big fan of Superstore. You can see all of the different episodes and a synopsis of each episode, and it shows the popularity back and forth. I'm a TV series junkie in that regard. But Bo also does a lot, like Brady had mentioned. He also does a lot with sports vizzes also. I am not an Iowa basketball fan, but I was a Caitlin Clark Iowa women's basketball fan. So it was fun to follow her career when she was at Iowa. So this viz that he put out, the Clark versus Reese in the NCAA women's basketball tournament, that viz was really good. Sometimes I look at Bo's dashboards and I'm like, how did he do that? And like Tosh said, I'll take them down. I'll download it, not copy it. I'll download it and try to reverse engineer it. I'm really big into the NFL. So his NFL draft picks 2013 to 2022, I found very interesting. So he does a lot of sports, does a lot of pop culture. And I really enjoy the work that he does. And he's probably one of the big Tableau public creators that I've actually met. So that's kind of fun too. The other one is Mark Bradburn, and where I keyed in on Mark, I am a junkie of Hallmark Christmas movies, and in fact, I still have 6 or 7 of them on my DVR that I haven't watched yet. And I was watching one of them this season. I'm like, I have seen this actress in another movie before. And so I Googled the character, and in my Google search, this Tableau Public Viz actually came up. And I was like, wow, this is mind blowing. And I ended up getting lost to this forever because I just loved it. Because it has every 20 years of Christmas cliches, but it was actually Hallmark holiday movie ratings over the last 20 years. So I was able to go through this viz and find movies that I've missed over the last 20 years. So I was able to find those on streaming channels. But Mark Bradburn, if you're not familiar with who he is often a sous chef, I think is what they call them, for the Iron Viz contestants at the national conference. So he works alongside assisting the contestants on stage. Most of what I've seen from Mark Bradburn is pop culture stuff. He's got a really cool The Viz is Right play at home game. That's a takeoff of The Price is Right, an Iron Maiden. These are pop culture Iron Maiden songs, if you will, a dashboard of their songs. Lots of content in a lot of different genres that if only this Makeover Monday one was pretty cool. It was how I learned how to do a hex map by downloading this viz and re-engineering it to do a hex map for something that I actually had a business presentation use for. So so that was very cool as well. That was actually an election related one, a workout, Makeover Monday one. So lots of different mapping options from Mark Bradburn. I look to him for a lot of, I look to his public vises for a lot of business related stuff. I know that Mark did it. How did he do it? Pull down that viz and reverse engineer it. And I've been able to do a lot of those kinds of things with my own business dashboards. So that's, he's one of my two favorites.
That was great. Thanks for sharing that, Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Well, that is our presenters today. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to go through our last few slides. So other upcoming events. The Data Book Club meets next Friday, next January 31st. It's a few weeks from now. I actually didn't update that. And then upcoming other tugs for Wisconsin. Milwaukee will be next month, February 26th. Madison will be March 27th, and we'll see you again in April. We have not picked up the date yet for that, but we'll see. We'll make sure to send that out soon. Then we have our prize giveaways. Robert?
Yep, thanks. So using our super uber sophisticated random number generator thing and going down the list of people, I want to congratulate Olga Waldkirch and Andrew Geisler, who we drew for our swag gift card winners. Andrew, I DM'd you, but I haven't seen back. So if you could please direct message me or stay after the meeting for a few minutes to give me your email address. We'll get those out to you very soon. I will throw out there that the Tableau swag store is having a problem now that we've rolled into 2025. So it might be a couple of days delayed till I get it to you, but I will follow up with an email to send you a gift card code to use there. And they have all kinds of cool stuff in terms of t-shirts and technology, Tableau, doodads and goodies and things like that. We'll send you the website and $30 to spend there. So thanks for attending, participating in the chat, and being part of our community.
Yep. And Jen did post in the chat that the Madison Tug is going to be virtual this time and not in person.
Yep. And then Brandy shared that the Data Book Club link in the chat if you were looking for that. But that's really it. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks again, BJ. Really enjoyed your Super Mario Brothers dashboard. It was amazing. Robert's, obviously teaching a great class there. But if that's, that's one of your students, that's a great job. So thanks for everyone for joining.
Come back and join us in April and see the Taylor Swift dashboard. And
yes, for sure.
For Madison Tug, we are trying to only do the virtual meetings for the Madison Tug during winter. So our winter March 27th meeting is virtual. So
yep.
Please join
and
us.
If you make any Data Plus TV dashboards, feel free to share those. Thanks, everyone.